If you're ever so slightly interested in handheld gaming devices, now's the best time to check it out. These so-called retro handhelds are potentially your solution to have an all-in-one device for most games across multiple platforms. And in 2024 alone, we have over 20 portable handheld devices released. And now entering the second half of 2025, there were already 22 to 25 announcements and releases, while majority of them coming from AYANEO. The handheld gaming market is far from dying, but the big question here is which one to get. Is there a big difference between Android-based devices and the much more expensive handheld PCs? Let's find out. Before we start, I'm conducting a social experiment here by starting my channel from scratch. It will really help if you can actually drop me a like and subscribe. Or if you have any comments or feedback, please do feel free to drop them below. I'll be sure to check them out. Okay, now back to the content. In the first place, why would anyone want to get a handheld gaming device in 2025? Well, for those of you who are watching right now, I believe you have more or less come to a realization that it is way more convenient and economical to do so. Or perhaps you have some older titles that you wanted to play, but don't want to purchase a retro console just for 1 or 2 games. We're currently in the 9th generation of gaming consoles, and with the existence of these handheld gaming devices, you can easily access games from generation 1 to 7. High-end devices, of course, are capable of running generation 8, 9, or potentially the future stuff. This is pretty much the deciding factor between a handheld-based device and a handheld PC. Before we begin, in order to avoid confusion, I am going to categorize devices that uses Android chips as Android-based devices, and those that are not, simply as handheld PCs. There are several factors that you should consider when deciding which device to get. Factors such as on-hand experience, price, form factors, the generation of consoles it's able to emulate, and additional functions, such as dual screen or video out capabilities. Okay, jumping straight into conclusion, of course handheld PCs are more capable than the Android-based ones. It's basically carrying a mini laptop in your pocket. However, there are some key trade-offs. I put together a general pros and cons comparing these two categories of devices here. While I do not own a large collection of these devices, these details are based on my experiences with the following devices that I have owned at the moment or in the past. Well, I've sold off most of these devices and now I'm left with the AYANEO Air 1S and the Retro Pocket RP4 Pro. Let's talk about on-hand experience first. While you may think that the bigger screen means the better, I personally find otherwise. If you can use a wired or wireless video out, the screen size will matter less. It comes down to the weight and comfort of holding the device for a good few hours of gaming. I find it really uncomfortable holding handheld PCs for long hours since they generate more heat than any of my Android-based ones, regardless if I'm playing games with low graphic demand or the most recent realistic render. The device gets warm very easily, but fortunately not to the level where it's unbearable. In contrast to that, I can glue my hands on the RP4 Pro while playing games such as Burnout Dominator for a good few hours without feeling the heat. The weight also plays a big part in your comfort holding these devices. Anything above 500 grams tend to get uncomfortable after 2-3 hours of gaming. Now about the price. The price difference between these two categories is also pretty wide. For example, the RP5 from Retroid, which is one of the best Android-based handhelds out there right now, costs $219, whereas devices such as the GPD Win 4 is around $800, or the ROG Ally X, which is anywhere from $800 to $1,000. I got my RP4 Pro from Retroid directly for $149 during the sales. And I got my AYANEO Air 1S for $860 sometime last year when it was first announced. So this comparison alone is close to 7 times the cost. While I did mention that functionally, the handheld PC can do a lot more than the Android-based ones. But the point of buying these devices is to play game. If I need other functionalities, I'm better off relying on my laptops or desktop. Thus, I realized that my Air 1S is too overspec'd and underutilized. As for the form factor, it is pretty straightforward. Till date, the 3 most common are landscape, Game Boy style, or clamshell. Once in a while you do see weird ones that can transform or slide. There isn't a better or not for form factor. The only limitations are the internal specs made available to all these devices. Landscape style are the most common, and are usually the flagship devices for most brands, with the exception from the stuff that AYANEO pumps out, or some innovations attempts by the GPDs. As for the generation of consoles to emulate, probably the most important factor. Most of handheld devices can emulate up to Gen 4 consoles, even the budget handhelds under the $100 range. Gen 5, which is the PS1 and Sega Saturn onwards, will require a little bit more processing power to run. I've put together a simple chart based on game consoles that are the easiest to emulate to the hardest, along with some recommended handheld devices that are capable of running them. As shown in the chart here, the gaming platforms that are harder to emulate tend to run better with handheld PCs. So if you need a one device to foolproof most games, then a handheld PC is the way to go. And last but not least, let's look into additional features. Not all handheld gaming devices comes with video out capabilities. If you intend to stream, choose ones that enable video out easily. Do take note that some of the more budget devices do not have HDMI out, and the USB Type-C also cannot do video out. Or perhaps like you're looking for devices with dual screen to perfectly emulate NDS or 3DS games. Then there is the 1x Sugar, AYANEO Flip DS, or the recently announced AYANEO Pocket DS. What about devices that have integrated keyboards? The GPD Win 4, AYANEO Flip KB, AYANEO Slide. Or if you're interested in the laptop-ish looking thing, like the GPD Win Mini or the GPD Win Max. There's always something for everyone in the retro handheld gaming space. So putting all this consideration into a single pot, do you manage to shortlist a few devices that fits your needs? No? Maybe you can pick up one of your old phones lying somewhere and slap on a mobile controller. Or perhaps just use your laptop to emulate the games. Laptops these days are plenty powerful enough for games Gen 8 and before. In a nutshell, handheld gaming devices are ultimately a luxury to have. If you truly desire to enjoy older games, try exploring the devices that you currently own. And this is just my take, but I feel that handheld PCs are kinda overkill, especially with the recent Android-based devices catching up in terms of performance and power. On top of that, the battery runtime on Android-based devices is usually way better than the PCs, not to mention the cost too. After owning the RP4 Pro for a while, I don't feel the need to upgrade, unless there are newer Gen 8 games that will catch my attention in the future. A few dips in the FPS are completely fine for me, as long as I get to complete the game properly. Okay, so that wraps up the video. If you find the content helpful, please do drop me a like and hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers!